Welcome back to another exciting episode and season finale of Film Freaks Television. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I'm here with...
Presenza, otherwise known as the Moo Cow. Moo.
Yes, and as you can see, we got a whole bunch of things together because we are going to be talking about what was it, 87 or 88? Let me go grab the...
I think it was even earlier than that, wasn't it?
Was it earlier than that?
86?
Maybe.
Return of the Living Dead.
That makes more sense. The 1984.
84, there you go. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right.
So I was even younger.
I was 2. I was 2 when this movie came out, and hold on one second. Just keep rolling.
Keep rolling.
All right. So, Return of the Living Dead, the 1984 Return of the Living Dead.
Classics.
This is actually a random one that I picked because this wasn't my original season finale episode, but I wanted to do something that Paul would really like, that we could both end on, that it would be, one we'd enjoy watching again and checking out. And I thought, since it's close to Halloween, it's October, let's do Return of the Living Dead. Plus, we're going to be, when this comes out, we're going to be on the road to Scarefest in Lexington, Kentucky. Not Louisville, Kentucky, where this movie apparently takes place, but Lexington, Kentucky. And we will be seeing some of the Return of the Living Dead people there. So I thought, this is a great fucking movie.
Oh, yeah, it's a great movie.
And I should watch it. So.
And I was in high school when this came out. So
You were in high school?
Yeah, I was class of 84. So this is 84. So this would have been senior year for me.
Senior year.
So 18 years old, and I see the freaking vision that was Leanna Quigley. That was the beginning of my absolute obsession with her for a good while, because what a knockout. My goodness. I mean, of all the great parts of this film, the fact that it's funny and gross, and, it's got all this great horror comedy, and it reset the standards for zombies. Yeah, Linnea Quigley and her little red hair and nothing else is pretty much what I took away from that movie for years.
She was something else, man.
Wow.
Yeah, she
Trash.
was a babe.
Anything but trash.
She still is a babe.
And what I love is the fact that she's so hardcore initially, and then when the shit hits the fan, she's just soft and sweet and vulnerable like everybody else. And,
yeah.
She's
not as tough as she seems like she is.
And she becomes an undead, brain-eating zombie.
And she's pretty tough when she's
pretty
there.
Pretty tough then.
Yeah. So we'll start talking about it. So I guess we'll start talking about the story. Even though if you're watching this, you probably have seen Return of the Living Dead.
God,
if not,
I hope so.
It's actually on Tubi.
You should. It's classic.
It's a classic. It's supposedly on Tubi. I saw it on IMDb saying it was on Tubi, so it's definitely worth checking out.
Had it on VHS. I just never got around. In fact, I may have gotten it on DVD. I haven't seen it in years and years. But I definitely would like to get it on Blu-ray. I mean, that's...
Even though we noticed some things, and we'll talk about that later, but we noticed some things that the Blu-ray picks up that DVDs and VHSs, especially VHSs, probably didn't pick up, or whatever.
But, or they may have picked it up, but she just couldn't tell because the details were a lot cloudier.
Yeah, exactly.
They're pretty clear now.
So anyway, the story begins with, we meet Freddy and Frank. And Frank is played by James Karen. Freddy is played by Tom Matthews.
And I love how it begins very similar to Hobgoblins in that you've got the warehouse guy teaching the old warehouse guy trying to teach the young warehouse guy, the ropes. And here's what you do. Here's what you don't do.
That's kind of funny that you thought about that. And we already done Hobgoblins for Indie Film Cafe, and we never thought about that. We never compared this movie to Hobgoblins.
I'm positive that this movie was an influence on Hobgoblins.
I think this movie was an influence on a lot of freaking movies.
Sure.
Period.
Sure.
You said was it Reanimator came out around the same time? A lot of these movies kind of changed the way we view zombies. And so basically what normally happens, like they even talk about Night of the Living Dead, right? As if like apparently that's based on a true story. And Paul didn't know this, but John Russo was one of the story writers. So I'm
Right.
guessing he gave the blessing for this to kind of go in the hands of Dan O'Bannon, who wrote and directed the film. And I believe this was his feature debut as a director. And I don't think he did anything else, unless he did like...
Well, I know he wrote Dead and Buried. I don't remember if he directed it or not. I may have. I don't remember, because this is what happens when you're in high school in 1984, and now all of a sudden it's 2022 and you don't remember shit.
All right. So then they go and basically, what's his name? Freddie and them. What is it? The best part is that they decide to go check out a dead body that supposedly had become reanimated.
Want to see a dead body?
Yeah. And so they go down the basement to check it out, and they say, there's no way this body could ever come out. It's trapped in there. And then they hit the thing and it spews all this chemicals out that the military had, I guess the military created for, what? It's an interesting idea of like the thought of what would, like, I'm guessing this is warfare, but like maybe to bring back dead bodies.
Well, I think he says that it was initially used that they were spraying marijuana plants because they were going to destroy the marijuana plants. Just it had this side effect that I guess they didn't expect, and so they're like, "Oops, I guess we can't use that."
So then they took it and they found out. I guess it brought one body back to life,
or several.
You
got to worry about the one.
Yeah. But we only see the one because it's the one that comes to the medical. I don't know why this medical facility in Louisville is the one that has it.
Well, I guess because they said it was a snafu. It was an accident. It wasn't supposed to be there, and that it sat there, which is kind of like, yeah. That's kind of stretching reality just a little bit, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've talked about this because there's a lot of things that you normally didn't groan at, because you usually groan when people, especially, police are involved or EMTs, things like that. You're like, people don't do that or whatever. And in this movie, you barely said it. You might have said it like that. Or
right,
whatever,
and like, little things that you can forgive, like the idea of the skeletons attacking people. Well, the problem is that they're skeletons, and so they don't have connective tissue or muscles, so they can't really do anything.
Yeah, they can't even probably move their skeleton.
So unless it's magic, they can't do anything.
Right.
So the idea of it being a chemical seems false. But that's okay, because that's not what you're there to do. You're there to sort of be entertained by this ridiculous shitstorm of a movie, and that's really what it was. It's a problem that turns into a shitstorm and then becomes a bigger shitstorm and just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger no matter what they do.
Literal shitstorm because it storms and whatever. But we'll get to that. So they bust open this thing. They get knocked out for like a half hour or something like that. They find out that later. They can't find the dead body. I guess it got kind of decomposed or something. But we find out later that dead bodies are running around trying to like eat people, like brains. And so anyway, they go and they find one dead body, and they call up Bert, who is the guy who runs it, and he comes to check on them, and he is played wonderfully by
Clu
Gallagher, yeah. Who's just like the whole time it's just like, what the fuck did you guys do? I leave, I go home for the night, and you guys are fucking up my my thing, my job. And,
you had one job, just keep the warehouse clean. And...
Yeah, look, I love how, like, in the beginning, they're looking at, like, how it says, like, perfect teeth is PT or whatever, and how he's talking about that these bodies have come from India, because apparently India has very good teeth, they're perfect teeth.
And don't forget the half dogs.
The half dogs, the split dogs.
Ugh. Oh, God, that was
poor babies.
There's a lot of black humor in this, too.
And then butterflies that came alive, which you're like, you love that little detail
I do.
They put in there. So the butterflies came alive. We never see them again or anything.
It reminds me of that other. There was another movie in the late '80s with Joe Piscopo and I forget his name, where they become dead and they have to fight. They fight somebody in a Chinese restaurant and all the food comes to life. So like the dead ducks come to life and attack them. It's great.
That sounds wonderful.
It's awesome. It really is. Dead Again, I think it is, or something. I forget what it's called, but yeah, we'll have to cover that. Maybe we'll do that next season.
I don't know.
It's very inventive.
One of your favorite. Okay, so there you go. I've never heard of it, but I don't know what one that is. I do love Joe Piscopo though.
I'm not a fan, but that was his best movie without a doubt.
I liked him in Sidekicks. He was a great villain, which is weird because I don't really see him as a villain, but he was a wonderful villain in that movie.
But the idea is that it was inventive. I mean, and that's kind of by the time the 80s and into the 90s, and by the time you get to things like Dead Alive, you had to come up with something new and interesting and inventive, and they did. So, and that's kind of the biggest difference between the zombie type movies from the 80s and 90s to now. I just don't know that they're very
inventive creative
now. So, personally.
Well, it's just not much you can do anymore.
It's true.
It's already sort of been done. And this is, we've talked about this. I am not a zombie fan. I'm not. But I'm a zombie comedy fan. Like,
Zombies.
I like zombies. I like stuff like, I like Zombieland 1. Zombieland 2 was just atrocious. I didn't like that. But I like Zombieland. I liked Shaun of the Dead. I like, we just, Vittorio and I just did, for 90s horror, we did My Boyfriend's Back, which I know you're not probably a fan of, but it was a different zombie movie. It was a zombie romantic comedy.
He loves found footage movies too. So found footage zombie movies has got to be like your favorite thing.
Diary of the Dead, I think, wasn't that like that? I don't know. I'm not a fan of I liked Night of the Living Dead. We did that for Criterion Watch, and I actually really enjoyed it. I like it because it was a simple, low budget, fun movie.
Plus, it reset the boundaries and reset the rules as to what zombies were. I mean, previously zombies were slow moving, dull things from Haiti that were just there to do the bidding of the zombie master, someone like Bela Lugosi.
Like White Zombie, you're saying?
Right, right. It redefined what a zombie is. And then, of course, it redefined it again later on with Dawn of the Dead, which is an even better movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead is it's probably one of the greatest horror movies ever.
I've watched through the mall, but it didn't do anything for me because, I wasn't huge into it, that's so. All the other guys that were walking around with me were like, "Oh my god, this is where and I'm like, "Cool, I'm here." I know one day I'm gonna become like a Dawn of the Dead fanatic or something. I'm gonna rewatch it eventually, and then I'm like, "God damn, I need to go there again."
And that was around. I mean, that would have been early '80s too. And God, I remember seeing it with my friends, and we were just absolutely appalled by the violence and the splatter that was in that film. There was appalled. Oh yeah. Now there was some splatter in this, but it wasn't quite as much as that. I mean, most of the budget I think went into actually things like the sound and the sets and the rain and all the extra goodies that
the look of it. I mean, some of the animatronics and stuff were good. The dead dog, the dead split dog, that was really good looking.
And that's why I always say, you're willing to forgive sometimes things that it seem kind of cartoonish. As long as the fantasy is grounded in reality, you're able to sort of let little things like that go. So that's what they did. They grounded the film in so many realistic terms with realistic stuff and settings and everything. You bought it, even though it's kind of a ridiculous, silly plot. It doesn't matter. It was fun. It was really well done.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. I mean, I hadn't seen it in a while, and I remembered loving it. When I first saw it, I was like, wow. And then I saw Return of the Living Dead 2.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I actually turned it off. So my friend and I are going to watch Return of the Living Dead 2 again tonight. I'm going to give it another try. I'm going to be very open-minded. I'm going to try it because I want to love this series, but I remember I watched it going, this doesn't have the same fun, entertaining.
It lost its zing.
Yeah, because I think I really liked the humor. I really liked, there was lines in it we were chuckling at because they were just, because it was well done, and everything was planned out well. Whenever the zombies would get on the radio, send more cops, like I was like, that is cool. That's taking the idea of the Night of the Living Dead movies and all of his other movies and changing them putting them on their head and saying this is not Night of the Living Dead. This is Return of the Living Dead.
It's funny because they're eating brains and not the flesh, and the reason they're doing it is because death hurts. And the
Apparently,
only thing,
eating brains makes them feel better.
Yeah, that's the only thing that makes them feel good. So they're addicted. They're addicted to eating brains, and that's why they're doing what they're doing, which is just funny.
We were talking about that though, because there's that scene where the girl's talking about it. I looked at the girl zombie who's naked girl zombie. I was just like, okay. Then if I'm confused because how did that, how do they test this out? They have to try brains once and say, ooh, that helps.
Instinct.
Yeah, so that was Paul's answer for it, and all right, I'll give it that, but it's, to me, I'm like, no.
Well, there's some school of thought that says that once you die, the one benefit is you get to know everything. It just doesn't help you because you're dead.
I don't know. If they knew everything, they would have been able to. I think they would have been a little bit more smart.
Oh, they were pretty smart zombies. I mean, they were able to use tools. They were able to call people. They were able to use the radio. Heck, the one Freddy, when he finally does die, and then he goes after his girlfriend's brains. He's teasing the shit out of her. He's like, "Only you can help me by letting me eat your tasty, tasty brains." It was funny.
I know. And then we got so we got the so how it all happens anyway, how this whole zombie apocalypse basically happened was they had the chemicals still inside the dead bodies or the reanimated bodies of the thing. So when they went to go burn it at the mortuary,
because they couldn't figure out what else to do with it,
they ended up
right up through the smokestack.
It went right up to the smokestack, and then rain started, and then the rain mixed in with the stuff and created this acid rain that basically brought everything back to life.
Bad timing, dude.
Just all of it's just bad timing.
I could have sworn I would have gone to my grave insisting that this movie was shot, or the idea that the movie was set in L.A., but I guess it's Louisville. I guess I forgot about that detail, but it looked like L.A. to me.
It probably was.
I've been to
LA.
Louisville, and I don't recall Louisville looking like that. Of course, I wasn't everywhere, but still.
Yeah.
I've been to L.A., and that's what it looked like. It looked like L.A.
Let's pause real 1 second, okay? Sorry about that. We were having a technical issue. We had to just make sure it got fixed. Sound, which you heard perfectly, so we're all good, So to go back to what we were discussing, so all the stuff happens, all the stuff spew into the air, it causes this zombie apocalypse, and all of these zombies just start coming out and just need brains. So I'm guessing that whatever chemical that was produces brain-eating zombies, and everything.
Side effect.
Side effect of this chemical is that
Meanwhile, our two schmucks who were there that we've seen from the beginning, James Karen and the other dude, they're slowly dying.
Matthews.
Yeah, Tom Matthews. They're slowly dying, and they don't even know it yet.
Rigor mortis and everything. We and in fact the morgue guy. Okay.
Ernie.
We gotta talk about that real quick. Because I noticed it. I don't know if it's in a trivia or anything like that, or if there was a particular reason he did this. But there is Bert and Ernie. And I was like,
awesome.
Really? Wait, wasn't his name Bert? His name's Ernie? Really?
And we have a trash, so...
We have a trash.
So there's
yeah. Maybe he is a big... Maybe Dan O'Banion was a big Sesame Street fan or something. Maybe he got high all the time and watched Sesame Street.
As you do.
As you do, as some people do, I'm sure. But it was one of those things where I noticed it and I was like, wait. And then there was a character named Jerry that was the was paramedic guy, and you're like, is the other guy named Tom? Because we wanted to go with like, and I'm like, now I'm wondering, was that guy's name Tom? If not, if he didn't have a name, I'm naming him Tom.
There you go.
You know, because Tom and Jerry. And there was a lot of like references to this stuff, and even at one point when they're all like running from the corpses and going to like the church or whatever and stuff like that, I thought to myself, wow, this is very Scooby-Doo like, you know, and everything. So there's a lot of like 70s
Scooby-Doo with splatter and tits, the way it should be.
The way it should be. You know, an adult Scooby-Doo. I would be down with that.
Yeah, because let's not forget Trash, my favorite character. She just all of a sudden, while in the cemetery, decides to do a naked dance on top of a crypt, as you do.
As she does.
It was 1984. It was a different time.
And you said, like, you had the biggest crush on her from that.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that movie, I was like, oh, my God.
So if I were around then when this first came out, I would have had the biggest crush on Tina. You know,
she was
like
a cutie too.
You would have loved Trash, which I think Trash is hot, but I would have been madly in love with Tina because she's just the cutest little blonde girl, you know, in the world. Like I
love my redheads.
Yeah, exactly. So I would have gone for her, and you would have gone for Trash, which is perfectly fine. But you know, and I Beverly Randolph, she was so wonderful in that movie. She was very sweet. She was so sweet, and so she just wanted to come see Freddie after work and everything. And then when she saw Freddie, she was there for him, like while he's dying and stuff. Like she is just trying to help him out.
Yeah, common sense was not her strong point to this character.
Well, in a way, but like, what else is she gonna do?
Leave.
Where is she gonna go? Yeah, she technically couldn't have gone anywhere.
She's not thinking about it that way, though.
I think common sense was fine for her. I think like there just literally was nothing they could do at that particular moment.
Well, she could have, brought him home, and they could have, raised split dogs together.
I don't know. I felt bad for the split dog.
I know.
All I can think about is, God, that must be painful.
That was funny,
Come back to life like.
And of course, they make it so that the dog is cute, and it's going, and it's going,
and
then they try to kill
it, and you can hear. It was so terrible.
I know, it sounded awful.
I'm a huge dog. Like, I don't like it when people kill dogs, but the whole time I'm going, kill that dog, because I don't want it to be in that much pain. Half dog. Oh, so scary. I wish they'd done more with the half dog, or like.
I bet if they had a bigger budget, those skeletons that they had gotten that were hanging in the things would have come to life too.
Or the butterflies would have came and attacked people.
That would have
been
stuff.
Awesome. Like, those like little things like that I think nowadays they could do.
Could have had like a fish sandwich, and all of a sudden the fish starts to bite you. It'd be funny.
That would be cute. I think all of that would be just funny and cute. Like, I would be all for this movie.
Oh, yeah.
More stuff. But even, as is, I think they did a wonderful job.
They did. They did a very good job.
It did have a pretty good sized budget for, this type of movie and stuff.
This is still considered indie.
Is it? I don't know. Like, because it was distributed by MGM.
Yeah,
but I don't think MGM actually produced it. I think they.
No, MGM probably saw it and said, "Holy shit, let's make some money.
This is great.
Let's make some money."
20th Century Fox too. They were like, "Let's grab that." The original soundtrack, which is great, is available on Enigma Records. So
that's cool.
I'm sure you could still get that online or whatever. But yeah, the Blu-ray itself has some great stuff like audio commentary, cast and crew, and undead.
Nice.
I love that
James Karen was so good in this movie too.
The whole time the undead going brains, and they're like, "Shut up! We're trying to do the commentary here."
He actually ends up crawling himself into the crematorium because he can't take it.
And then it says audio commentary with director Dan O'Banion.
Nice.
And production designer William Stout. Production design. You are big on production design.
I am. It's a big deal.
I mean, just him just dressing this set right here, just he wanted to make sure it looked good for like,
or that it wasn't just plain, which is what we usually have.
Sometimes, I mean, we at least have this generally.
Yeah.
Just to make it look not so boring. But yeah, we try to dress it up. I mean, it's the season finale. We gotta do something different.
Plus, it's October, so we gotta have some creepy stuff.
It's October. It's the season finale, and there's just so much going on right now.
Skulls, cows, and dead babies.
Sounds like a great podcast
there you
title.
Go. So this was a good choice. It's been a long time since I'd seen it again. I'm not sure why. It's just
we had a choice between this and another movie, and I chose this mainly because it's a Halloween movie, and we're putting this in October. And the other reason was because the other one we're gonna end up doing for Hollywood Boulevard podcast later, so you'll hear that. So.
Plus, the idea that we're going to see some of these folks at Scarefest is also a big plus.
Yeah, and I was going to watch it last night, actually, because, and then this morning I thought to myself, well, I hadn't watched it yet, and I wanted to watch it before the next one, so I was like, let's do it we'll see if Paul did not want to do this for some odd reason, maybe you just didn't like the movie, I don't know who wouldn't like the movie, unless you're just not into horror at all.
Right.
But if you're a horror fan, you have to see this movie.
Absolutely.
Like, this is a must watch. You're not a horror fan until you see Return of the Living Dead. And that's what I was told before I watched it.
Right.
It's like, you can't call yourself a horror fan if you haven't seen it.
And the thing is that you're going to see, I mean, even if you're a fan of some of the more modern things that are going on, you're going to see where a lot of that stuff came from.
This is history.
Right.
I'm sure they didn't think at the time that this was going to be historic. They thought, we're just making a fun movie. But, I see, that's what I want more horror filmmakers to do, indie or whatever, because, all right, everybody's talking about Halloween Ends, and I'm going to tell you this. The Halloween Ends is the weirdest movie I've ever seen. The Halloween thing, they did something completely different than anything, planned, and nobody saw it coming, and it still didn't feel like it didn't feel historic. It didn't feel like there was something in it that hadn't already been done in something or other.
And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The reason it doesn't work and all the other ones don't work is because there should not have been anything else beyond the first Halloween. That's why John Carpenter never wanted to be involved in anything else beyond that, because the story was told in one movie. But unfortunately, that's the Hollywood thing is, well, we got to be able to squeeze more juice out of this puppy, so let's just keep rolling with it. And the fact is that the follow-up stories, no matter how weird or wacky they get, and they get pretty wacky, they're never going to be able to be in the same level as the first movie. So.
Yeah, I agree, but what can you do? You just they tried to do something different, and look, I'm not a fan of it. I didn't like it, but I respect what they did. I do not want David Gordon Green touching The Exorcist, but he's already has, so I'm just not gonna watch it. Yeah. And that's the first time I'm boycotting a movie, but that's a completely different. That has nothing to do with Trinity of the Living Dead. I'm just saying, nowadays we really don't have movies like this.
Yeah.
This movie is definitely historic, and it's definitely something that more people should take a look at.
If you haven't seen it, I mean, most people my age would be able to say, oh yeah, we saw that, but most people his age or younger may not have seen it, or may not even know about it, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, especially new people into horror, just getting into horror. This is a movie that's kind of perfect if you're not
funny. There's a lot of black humor in this too.
That's why, because it is
you're
funny.
Laughing at stuff that you probably shouldn't be laughing at, but you can't help it. It's just funny.
Well, it doesn't have anything that's offensive today.
No, well, I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, unless you call nudity offensive.
And there are who do.
Really?
That's just a shame. But no, it's just you can't help but feel bad for these two schmucks who all the guy wanted to do was to show him these tanks and. Yeah.
I mean, and then they just start the zombie apocalypse. They have no idea. So we were talking about earlier that this is a Blu-ray, and we could sort of see certain things that you normally don't pick up on, and Paul picked up on something specific. So at one point or another, the was it
they finally call the military.
Yeah, Gulliger finally is able to get to a phone, calls up the military. The military is like, oh, okay, yeah. And he's in his room, the colonel, and is in his room with his wife in the bedroom. And there's something to the side that keeps moving. It looks like hair that keeps moving up and down. It's probably the boom person, as we think.
Behind the couch.
And we can see it. It's just, I didn't notice it at first because I'm not one of those people that pick up on that shit unless pointed out. But Paul is one of those people. That's his job, is to pick up stuff like that up and everything. So
can't help it.
Yeah, so he noticed it, and I was just like, oops, Once again,
never noticed it before.
Yeah.
Saw it in the theater when it came out. Never noticed it.
Yeah,
but the Blu-ray, it pops
out on the Blu-ray, and you just like, because every definition of the movie, every grain, every hair, every everything you can see, and
this is why George Lucas went back and redid all of his the first couple of Star Wars movies, because he noticed that once you saw them in Blu-ray, you could see all those kinds of details. You could see lines. You could see all kinds of shit.
Yeah, but like he went back and changed who shot first and shit like that.
Well,
like,
no,
he went and changed like a lot of shit that didn't need to be fucking touched.
He baldized his own film.
Yeah, like everybody was just like, he bastardized it. He just made it worse, and that whatever. That's another story. But I get it. Yeah, he wanted to fix everything because once you see it in high definition, you're like, oh my god, that looks. That looks terrible. Like, why did...
That's the thing about technology,
But back then, you never thought, like, they probably never thought there'd be high definition.
Right.
You never thought technology would get better.
1984.
1984, you never thought that technology would get better where you would pick up on that stuff and whatnot. And even if you did, so what,
Well, and that's why, again, I always come back to it. You have to have someone forward-thinking like a Stanley Kubrick who, not only did he, like when The Shining, or some of his other movies where he had a special lens that he had to get made by NASA in order to do this because there's no other way that he wanted to have certain things shot, and you can blow that up as much as you want and it's going to look crisp and gorgeous forever. Or where he pays strict attention to the details and the continuity.
Continuity!
Yeah. He's a master of manipulating continuity so that there are little changes, like especially in The Shining, but he's doing that on purpose to fuck with your sense of reality, and you don't even know it, but your brain is seeing it and picking up on it. And it adds to the unease, and it forces you to no longer be grounded in reality, and it just turns the movie into a nightmare. It's just fabulous, but not everybody is that forward thinking or that just amazing. So
let me talk a little bit about the history of this movie as far as like Dan O'Bannon was a big part of. He wrote Alien. He he wrote a lot of stuff. And he was such a great, fantastic writer. And for like you were saying, when he got this as a directing thing, he probably said, I've written this movie. I want to direct this. This is what I want to direct. And I don't blame him because
great.
This is so much fun. Like, this would be a fun project for anyone to do. Could you see anybody else directing this film? Like, I mean, I guess you could. Although John Carpenter would be good.
We'll have to ask Miss Beverly because there is that one scene where she goes face first and body first into that disgusting, slimy mud puddle. And they have to rescue her from it, and that must have sucked, being in that. She probably had to take, who knows how many takes in that.
Yeah, just to get it right, exactly. But you were even saying, like, some of the takes, like, some people, like, bang into things, and then they would just keep going.
Keep rolling.
They would keep rolling, and it was fine. It did not look like, oh, my God, they made a mistake.
And they stayed in character.
Yeah. Or maybe it wasn't a mistake. Maybe they rehearsed that, and that's how they did it every time.
Yeah, probably
I don't know.
But you never know.
You never know.
It's worth asking the guys there.
Yeah, because some of those scenes, like, that's wonderful. So we're really excited to be at Scarefest this weekend. and to basically be able to see all those guys. We love this movie. This movie is just fun, you know. I'm just excited that that we got press passes, so we'll be there. And
what I really like about this movie is, of course, yes, it's a fantasy, it's a ridiculous horror fantasy, but the people don't act like idiots. They all make, you know, what look to be on the surface, you know, regular kind of thoughtful, you know,
smart decisions.
It's just they turn out to not be the ones you're supposed to make, but they don't know that. So
we know that,
right? It's not like you're sitting there going, "Oh, why are they so stupid? Why did they do this? Why did they do that?" They're perfectly reasonable decisions and perfectly reasonable thoughts.
Let's burn the bodies. Like, how else are you going to get rid of this? Oh, we're not thinking that the chemical that's inside them is going to go into the smoke.
Right. They've already destroyed the brain and chopped the body into little bits, and the little bits are all wriggling around trying to kill you.
I love I love the bit where they try to get them hit the head and kill the brain, and then it doesn't work, and they're like, I thought the brain was supposed to, you know, like,
that's only in the movies,
and that was in the movie, and then they're like, they look at each other like, you mean the movie lied to us?
That's funny.
I'm like thinking, you know, that's, I mean, they tried to ground it in enough reality where we would buy this. Like,
right.
This could happen to us. And honestly, if I had seen this when I was a kid, which I'm pretty sure I didn't, if I saw this when I was a kid, it would have freaked me out. The you know, the skeletons going rah, trying to save braids. Nowadays, it kind of makes me laugh a little bit more, you know, just because it doesn't scare me, like, but this would have terrified me as a kid, you know, So anybody who's watching it with their kids, just, you know, maybe nowadays, maybe not.
It's funny. I mean, at 18, it wouldn't have scared me, but even if it might have, I was so overwhelmed by Linnea Quigley that it didn't really matter. That's all I could think about.
Her naked.
Oh,
she's like literally
Lord.
completely naked
Good
most
Lord.
of the time. Like, completely with her.
And she would have been, what, maybe 20 at the time? 21? Something
she's
like that?
Just a little older than you,
A little
maybe.
older than me. Wow. That's all I could say. Even today, seeing it again after all these years and in Blu-ray, just wow. She was a dancer, too, so she had that, like, little tiny Leith form. So, wow.
She was wonderful.
Amazing.
I loved her. Miguel Nunez as Spider. I loved him. He was great. He was
all of them. The
he
whole
was
cast
yelling
was
at yelling at those guys all the time. At one point, he's like, "I'm gonna drive," and the guy's like, "No, I'm driving." I was like, "Fuck you!" And I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, not a bad performance in the cast at all. It was really really well done.
Oh, and John Philbin, Regis Philbin's son, I believe, and he was in it. He's also going to be as scared as I care.
And just like in Hobgoblins, you have the one nerdy guy who's trying to get with the one girl, and that was the same thing in there. So there's gotta be a connection there.
So yeah, the director of Hobgoblins,
Rick Sloan. I have to talk to Rick Sloan. Come on, man.
Let's get Rick Sloan on the show. Come on.
Yes, please.
Well, we'll love to talk to you about this. Yeah, it's funny because if we do get a chance to interview like Tom Matthews, like he is very famous for not just being in this movie, but also being in Friday the 13th Part 6 as Tommy Jarvis. So he's gotten, some roles, and everything. And it would be really fun to hear him, just hear what he has to say about this and that, and basically being in two iconic franchises in a way, I wonder if they'll ever do another Return of the Living Dead. Now, I'm not saying like that, I don't think they should
I'd give them any ideas.
But hey, you know what? I mean, if I actually like these kind of things, somebody who actually loves Return of the Living Dead could do a really good job.
Now, if they were to turn around and say, turn this into a series,
that might
where
be
they're
fun.
expanding things and they're putting new characters and new stories, new things into it, that would be interesting. I would be interested in that.
Would you if they did that?
Yeah.
I don't know who owns the rights. Like, I guess Fox. So Fox would own the rights. So now, you'd hate it. Disney owns it now.
Yeah, they'd ruin it.
Does that make Trash a Disney princess now?
Makes her my Disney princess.
She's your princess, period.
My trash princess.
Trash princess. No, I'm gonna ask her that. I'm like, are you a Disney princess now that Fox was bought out by Disney?
Especially, God, 1984. Trust me, the moo cow was all punk. The only thing I didn't have was a safety blade in my nose.
Oh man, yeah, you might as well have, right? You know, do that whole thing. Oh my
yeah.
god. Well, I think that's about it. I mean, there's not much else to talk about as far as like stuff goes in it. It's a great movie. I mean, it's fantastic. It's a lot of fun. There's it's cute. I always use that word a lot, but like this really does fit that. You know, I mean, just that little dog and.
It's funny. It's gross. It's got some good horror elements. It's got a little bit of everything.
It's got a little bit of everything. So.
And some really, really great performances. James Caan was so really good in this.
You love him. I don't know.
Great.
What else have you liked him in?
He's been in a whole bunch of stuff. He was one of those great character actors that used to be in all kinds of things. And yeah, he was just really. For some reason, I thought Dick Miller was in this too, because he's another character actor.
Maybe he's in the sequel. I don't know.
Yeah, it might have been. I don't remember.
But Dick Miller worked a lot with Joe Dante. You know, so. Maybe. I mean, he also worked. I mean, he worked a lot of other stuff, but like Joe Dante was his kind of go-to guy, which will eventually do like Gremlins and things like that, but on film.
Right. So Return of the Living Dead and Gremlins. That's low-budget hobgoblins right there.
Yeah.
That's the two of them together.
Yeah, pretty much. I think Gremlins came out in '85, so it's kind of perfect for '84, '85, then '88 for hobgoblins, and he was like. Let me just mix them all together and make this
Club Scum.
Yeah, let's do that. There you go. Scum. Wasn't that the character's name in this movie?
Road Rash. Oh yeah, in this movie, yes. And
there's a
Hobgoblins. It was Road Rash.
Yeah. So there's Scum. Yeah. And there's a Club Scum. So you're right. There are a lot of similarities. Funny that you're picking that stuff up. So. Anywho, if you haven't...
let me ask you this before we go. What is on the Blu-ray? What kind of extras?
Well, I said audio commentary with cast, crew, and undead. Audio commentary director Dan O'Banion and production designer William Stout. So if you... Maybe they do discuss the person.
Is this a 4K transfer?
No. This is just a regular Blu-ray. And now, I think they will do like a 4K at some point. They will. Or if they haven't already. The Decade of Darkness featurette.
That sounds interesting.
The Return of the Living Dead, The Dead Have Risen featurette. Zombie subtitles for the film.
Zombie subtitles?
Yeah, I have no idea what that means. That sounds funny.
That sounds like it's worth watching just to see that.
Yeah. Designing the Dead featurette. A theatrical trailer bloody version and theatrical trailer even bloodier version.
Oh, nice. See, I bet Just Jen would like this. Maybe. I think she'd enjoy it.
I think she'd enjoy it. It's cute.
Yeah.
In their own words, the zombies speak. That's the last.
Nice.
So a lot of good special features. It's a collector's edition. I think it's well worth it especially if you haven't seen it, buy it, and you're not going to regret buying it. And then you'll have all the extras. And
I know Tina Krause has to love this movie.
Probably. I'm surprised she wasn't... I guess she wasn't making movies.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a little early for her.
Earlier for her, but she would have probably been watching this in the theater.
Yes, exactly.
Like you know.
She's another one that's only a couple of years... Well, in her case, she's a couple of years younger than me. So.
Yeah, she was a teenager.
Yeah. I think she's
a couple years younger.
She's 3 years younger than me.
Well, there you go. But anyway, that's pretty much it. So, if you guys... So, to give you an idea of what's happening right now, so you're going to get a What the Fuck Friday on Friday, and we're about to go record that in a little bit, so you might see the same clothes and shit. And then we are going to do, and then in November, out comes Criterion Watch, comes back, so that'll be fun. And then in January, I believe, January or March, not sure yet. But we'll be back with Film Freaks and What the Fuck Friday will be back. So.
And I really, really wanted to conclude the What the Fuck Friday with the Oily Maniac, but I just can't get the English version of that anywhere. You have to buy it. Because the only place I saw it online at the sketchy Russian porn site, it was all in Chinese. So
I don't even know what that... I don't know what he's talking about, but all right.
Well, that's all right. At some point, I will spend the moolah and I will get the Blu-ray that has the English subtitles, and you'll get to experience the Oily Maniac for What the Fuck Friday, because it's a What the Fuck movie.
That should be like the conclusion for sure. So maybe next season, man. Next season. So we're going to be back with a lot more shit. Probably some more Zooms as well, so we can get more people involved and everything. But it's really nice to come in here and do this in the studio and have you guys here. So.
Hang out with the cows and the skulls and the dead babies and
the monkeys,
the sci-fi monkey,
and
the cow.
And the skeleton up here. There's a skeleton. You might not be able to see him too well, but he's up there hanging out. So thank you guys so much for checking this out. Join us, I guess, next year for a brand new season of Film Freaks TV.
And have a happy Cowloween.
Happy Cowloween, everybody. Bye. Alright, let's wait about 20 seconds. I'll start it.
Outtakes.
Look at all the dead babies.
Never enough dead babies when you want them.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to, hold on a second. That would have... Alright, let's stop. That wasn't even all the way in. That's what she said. Alright.
Brains!